Board of Appeal. With us tonight, our board members, Matthew Cole, Sabella Santaboo, Robert Wilkinson, and David Little. Because I have to appear remotely, it's a little awkward to chair a meeting remotely. I've asked David Little to chair this meeting. He has happily consented to do so. So David, it's back to you.
Okay, thank you, Jerry. Welcome to the Zoning Board of Appeal hearing for February 18th, 2026. In person, we have Sabella Santagrul, David Little, Bob Wilkinson, and online we have Matt Cole and Jerry Mulligan. And on our agenda, we're going to deal with the old business first. I did not attend the December 17th meeting. So
I'll move the approval of the minutes.
okay, been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
I think we have to do
A roll.
I also did not attend the last.
No, you didn't. And so,
I can,
right,
but I think we need to do a roll call.
we do need to do a roll call. Bob?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Okay, so moving on. The first case is case 2025-20, Seaside Joint Ventures LLC has applied for a special permit as set forth in Chapter 40A, Section 9, under the Orleans zoning bylaws, Section 16440.4D3. The applicant is requesting a oh no, excuse me. Oh no, forgive me.
Before you get
No,
to
I
that,
I was reading the minutes.
I'm going to recuse myself on the first one.
Okay. Okay.
You can sit down. It's a different case.
You need this?
Okay, no, I've got it. You have the agenda?
And right here, David.
The agenda.
Okay, thank you. I'm new at this. Bear with me. The first case is 2026-01. Michelle Lavelle has applied for a special permit as set forth in MGLA Chapter 40A, Section 6, under the Orleans zoning bylaw, Section 16421C, coastal bank setback distance, and Section 16421 footnote 5, special permit for building coverage in excess of 4,000 square feet. The applicant is proposing to demolish an existing dwelling and freestanding garage, then construct a new dwelling and separate guest house with total building coverage in excess of 4,000 square feet. The property is located at 355 Tonsett Road, map 5, parcel 72.
Thank you, Mr. Little. Thank you, everybody. My name is Ben Zender, and I'm here on behalf of the owners of the property. With me are Dan Taglio and Rob McPhee, the designers, and then my client is on the line to listen but not to speak. This is a special permit for two forms of relief. One is that you're used to seeing, which is an application for building coverage in excess of 4,000 square feet. The project is going to be 4,170 square feet, so it's about 170 square feet over the 4,000 square foot trigger for review. Also, the existing structure and the existing garage are both non-conforming as to their proximity to the coastal bank setback. Your bylaw, 16421C, requires that buildings be set back 1.5 times their height from the top of the coastal bank, at least out to 50 feet. Right now, the existing dwelling is 7.6 feet from the top of the coastal bank. The garage is 10.2 feet. And we're asking that the new cottage be 7.8 feet and the porch side of the house be at 0.5 feet. It's a little hard to show the plans, but the top of the coastal bank, when you look at the plan, it actually is really unusual in that it wraps around. It comes in from the north, wraps around the south side of the existing and proposed dwellings, and then comes back up again behind the existing and proposed dwellings, and then comes up in the area of the existing garage, proposed cottage. So the top of the coastal bank kind of wanders in the waterside side of the property on the south side. which creates a difficult scenario for moving the house back and also for locating. The lot also has land subject to coastal storm flowage, and as those of you who got down there and saw it, it has a low point behind the existing house. So moving the house back would be very difficult in this situation. The application also looked at moving the house all the way back on the lot, but that would involve a significant amount of alteration of the hillside, removing all the natural trees in that area, which they didn't want to do, and it just didn't make any sense, they didn't do it. Project has received approval from the Conservation Commission already. We've applied to the Historic Review Commission for a review. We haven't got a meeting date on that yet. I don't foresee any issues there, given the existing nature of the house. The design of the house, we've provided plans and specifications. More importantly, we've provided you photographs of the proposed house. The height of the house is going from 26.4 feet to 27.5 feet, which is a difference of 1.1 feet. But as you probably saw from the supplementary handout, the house is being constructed to flood zone standards. The applicant has raised it an additional foot over what would be required under the base flood elevation plus the required distance. So they're actually bringing the lower end of this house up significantly. So they're actually, the height of the house, although the ridge height is higher, the actual width, top to bottom height of the house is being reduced a slight amount because it's being elevated above the flood stage. So when we look at the standards for the special permit criteria, I don't see that this is substantially more detrimental than the existing structure. The design of the structure is in keeping with structures in the area. The size of the structure at this footprint is in keeping with the size of structures in the area. I think they've done a wonderful job from a design standpoint to minimize the visibility of the house. And that's all I can really present at this point, and answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
So for my fellow board members' benefit, I sit on the Conservation Commission that approved the project yesterday. And one of the reasons that it was approved unanimously was the significant mitigation and landscape plan that was prepared by Wilkinson Ecological Associates. It was huge, and in getting the Conservation Commission's approval. And I understand that you literally have to build on the same footprint. So one thing, Ben, when I was going through the revised set of plans that you gave us,
Right.
we need, the site plan still reflects the old building height. It doesn't reflect the new building height with respect to the top of the ridge.
I think it does. We submitted
No, I know
today.
I
a
know
new
you
plan.
did, but if you look at the new, these plans reflect it.
Yes.
And then, but the site plan,
It was, actually, the site plan was revised. The original file site plan had the ridge height at 26.5 feet.
okay, I see, oh, you do have 42.6. It
Yeah.
has been revised.
Yeah, we did
Okay.
revise. The one that we submitted by email yesterday, and hard copies today has the
Okay,
new.
okay,
Yep.
I can see that was
Yep.
revised. So
Yep,
both,
it was.
both
Okay.
plans are correct.
Okay, thanks.
I've been on the site, and then I also went down to Snow Shore Landing, which is where you really get a good sense of this. It's my opinion that this building, while it's hardly taller than the other one, will blend in better than what's there. What's there kind of stands out like a sore thumb. So those are my only comments. Any other members have comments?
My only comment relates to the cupola on, what are we calling it, the cottage, whereas we're providing relief that relates back to height. That exceeds the building height that's in the calculation, correct?
I think yes, it does.
Is it less than,
Yeah, hold on, I'm
4 by
looking at the definition
4 by
really
4?
quickly.
It's a 3x3 cupola?
I believe that the size of it, if it's less than
I can
16
read,
square feet.
well, I can read the bylaw. The bylaw says, excluding Features are pertinent to buildings which are usually carried above roofs and are not used for human occupancy, which in no event shall exceed 5 feet above the ridge line. That's the definition of building height. So, you know, maybe the building inspector can weigh in, but I think a cupola that's less than 5 feet above the ridge line probably would be exempt from the height calculation.
Yeah, I didn't mean to state that it should be part of the calculation. I realize that it's not.
Okay.
It's just one more thing that makes the, you know, building present taller, which is, what the, you know, the bylaws seeking to regulate there in terms of distance to the coastal bank.
Just at one point on that, I think that cupola's on the cottage,
It is.
which is not visible from the water. I think it may be visible from somebody to the south, looking over from Uncle Mark's, may be able to see it. But I don't think the general public's gonna be able to see it very well because it's behind the house.
Well, if you're saying it's not visible, what vegetation, once the mitigation work is done, what vegetation will exist between the cottage and the water? There'll be no mature vegetation left.
I think the house is screening the cottage unless you're, and I'm not sure what the vegetation is from the northeast. But looking at the site plan, the house is between the cottage and the water. Mostly, not all the way.
And the cottage is against the tree line on the lot line. It's right up against the building setback line on that side, which is all vegetated trees.
So to repeat that, the cottage is up against the tree line as well.
So any mature trees within the building setback are to remain untouched?
There is just one tree that was proposed for removal and
Yeah.
3 trees,
Going in.
3 white oaks. No, let's see, there's 5 cedar trees and 3 white oak trees are proposed to be planted in place of the one that's being removed.
In that, just to, you know, the garage is actually within the 50 foot from the top of the coastal bank. So, the entirety of this project is within the 100-foot, other than the parking area to the northwest. So they can't remove any vegetation within that area other than what was approved by the Conservation Commission.
Oh, I'm sure it was approved, but you know what happens, everything goes away and it's, you
Yeah.
know, fully exposed to the water view.
But there's nothing there currently, really.
There's really nothing that shields it now, Matt. I've been out to the site twice. And I don't believe the white oaks were planted to shield the dwelling more than they were the guest house.
The house shields the guest house
Right.
from the water.
I'm just commenting based on the presentation before the Conservation Commission yesterday.
I mean, look, if the cupola's gonna kill the project, we'll take it off, but I think the clients would like to keep it if they could.
Seems like the cupola fits in with the guidelines. To me, if I may, just say, I could understand the difficulty of it, but while you're doing such a, huge reconstruction, it would have been really nice if the new house and the garage was on higher ground, obviously. That would have been really beneficial. But I could see why it is difficult, and, conservation approved it, so.
Yeah, they looked at, they actually had an entire design program, they looked at trying to move this house back, but given the topography going back up there, it was gonna be a significant increase in cost for the project. And also, it just, that area is much more treed, back up in there, they didn't wanna have to remove all those trees as well, so.
Yeah, It's
it
just in terms of
it
the
works right
flood,
as-
the
right.
floodplain of it,
Yeah.
get it up higher would have been really nice,
Right.
but I could see why it was not an easy thing to do.
Could I maybe step back quite a bit? I hate to be a skunk at a garden party, but I look at this and I don't know how, this is new construction, I understand it's a difficult lot. But I don't understand how we can ever deny anyone ever again with a coastal bank problem if we approve this. New construction that obliterates completely any concern for the coastal bank setback.
So,
And
could I-
especially as new construction.
Could I point-
David, you start off, David, by saying you realize how hard it is, but it can be done and still be in violation of the coastal setback, but less so than completely in violation.
I understand that completely, but the rear of the house that faces Nauset Harbor,
Yeah,
the house is located approximately 45 feet from the top of the coastal bank there.
yeah, I understand.
And the setback from the top of the coastal bank was, I believe, was created specifically for houses that fronted on resource areas like this. What happens here is the flood zone wraps around the dwelling, goes all the way up toward the cottage, and then comes back out again. It's a difficult situation. There's no other place to locate the house on this lot than up in the northwest corner where the septic system is located, which takes up half of the area for a potential dwelling. I've spent a lot of time on this plan. I'm not here to help the applicant. I'm here to try and help the board understand the difficulty of building in this lot. And I think that the coastal bank is the flood zone in this situation, which is quite different from most coastal bank situations that we see coming before the zoning board of appeals.
If I could put this a different way, for Jerry, if you move this house back away from the water, you move it closer to the top of the coastal bank.
Well, except if you move it, in other words, you have two separate buildings here, that are both in violation of coastal bank.
Right.
You could, heaven forbid, you make it smaller, but also, how about moving it so it's one building with a garage attached and move it back toward the proposed cottage?
You'd be
I
building,
don't think it's my job to be an architect here, and I don't.
you'd be building in a flood zone
I just
then.
don't know, David, how we ever say to anybody, we allowed new construction of a 4,179 square foot, with no consideration whatsoever for the coastal bank. And I think the coastal bank regulation is also not just for, I think it's for visual impact. I'm not that familiar with the harbor. I'm told that this house really sticks out. You can't miss it from anywhere around, because it is so protruding into the view, actually, from the water.
Well, if I could say,
I just raised the issue. I just think I'm gonna be hard pressed to say to somebody who wants to build a new covered porch, 2 feet more into the coastal bank, to say no, after we've let this giant house be built without any concession whatsoever to the coastal bank.
if I may, Mr. Chair, first of all, the covered porch that we're talking about is a single-story covered porch.
No,
Yep.
that was, I'm talking about future applications.
No.
We have a lot of applications, people want to build.
I understand, but I can say that, look, in front of this board, almost every application I've brought to this board for coastal bank relief for the special permit has been new construction. I mean, they almost always are. So I think this board has been looking at new construction of the coastal bank for a long time. But, look, we could decrease the setback to the coastal bank for that structure by moving it closer to the water, which is exactly, I think, what the bylaw doesn't want you to do. It wants you to move structures back away from the perception from the water. But I think our engineer's on the line. Sean Riley may have something to say as well, if that's okay with the chair.
Yes, I think I can clarify the situation here, and if I could just share my screen. I appreciate the setbacks to the coastal bank. This is a very, very unusual situation where you have your typical coastal bank that you see along the waterfront. And, the setback to that coastal bank is where the house is now. The flood zone does wrap in, around, and behind the house. So you have a technical coastal bank from DEP standards. So by moving the house back, you're actually moving it closer to the technical coastal bank, even though you're moving it further away from the intent of the bylaw, which is to move it further away from the water. So as Mr. Zender just said, moving it actually closer to the water decreases or increases your setback to the coastal bank, but actually increases it in proximity to the water. So,
What about moving it to other trees, where those trees are?
so even if we moved it back into the tree area, we're removing all of the vegetation within the property, we're not gaining any greater separation to what is essentially the 100-year flood happening within a lawn area to the coastal bank. I think the intent of the bylaw is moving the house back away from the view shed, from the water, so that people don't build right up on top of the coastal bank and right up on top of the water. So we have a great separation from that with what we have for an existing property, or an existing house. So even moving it back, the detriment to moving it back, conservation-wise, is removing all of the natural habitat that remains on the property. And what we're proposing is to replace all of this habitat that exists between the south side, the marsh side, and the house within this proposal. So essentially, we're not getting any closer to the water side of the property. The porch is on the back side of the house, which is closer to the driveway. And as far as the cupola, that you can see where the garage is, it's behind the house. It's sheltered from the view of the water. So this is a really difficult property, and we've spent a lot of time with conservation. We've spent over 2 years designing this project with multiple iterations of trying to design it back in that area. The other part of this is the area from the 50-foot buffer. There's a drastic slope that comes up in grade, so we'd have to do a walkout facing the water with the first floor level up at a higher level into the tree line. It really just is not a feasible situation. We have really looked at all the different scenarios to this, and we've come up with a great strategy, and conservation has agreed with us. So with that, I'll just, let you ask any other questions, but there really is no detriment, and the setback to the coastal bank isn't getting any worse other than technically to a lawn area.
I understand, but here we have a board that's approving an intensification and increasing the size too. I mean, it's just, it seems to me you got a tough lot and you've made no concessions because of the tough lot. If it was a small lot and you said, well, you can't build a house that big. You got a very small buildable envelope and you're pushing it. You're making it larger than it is.
Yeah.
And you're putting a two-story building where a one-story building is? I don't want to be, everyone on that board knows my history is not regulatory. I tend to favor the owners at every go. But I would think if I had bought this property and had looked at the confines of the property, I would not have had the temerity to come forward with a building this large, two separate buildings, it makes no concession whatsoever. As a matter of fact, I've made myself overly clear, and I'm embarrassed by it, but I don't know how we say no to anybody ever again on a coastal bank problem after we do this.
David, if I could respond, please. A couple things. First of all, it is an existing two-story structure. The increase in height of the structure is only, I had the number, I forgot, I think it's like 1.1 feet.
The garage in that picture is a two-story structure?
Yes.
Yeah, no, that's a two-story, if you look at, that's the existing house, Jerry, right there. So the existing story is a two-story structure.
No, not there. The one in the garage.
That's the garage is a single-story structure, yes.
And it's going to become a two-story structure, the proposal.
Correct.
Yes.
To be in symmetry with the house.
It's going to be a two-story guest house.
Right, but
Yes.
you're right, but the existing house is 2 stories, and look, I've been in front of this board probably 15 times for top of coastal bank setback relief. The standard is the structure going to be, it's not whether or not you can do it, it's whether the structure is substantially more detrimental. And when you look at this particular application, the height is going up 1.1 feet, but they're getting rid of the basement of this house, which means they're lifting the house up to meet flood zone requirements. So the actual height of the structure itself is less than the height of the existing house, which goes towards massing. So the other things we didn't talk about they're doing here is they're removing the asphalt driveway, they're removing the lawn area, they're replanting the entire lot. And, you know, again, we believe this house is more attractive, and again, you're looking at the picture of what's there. We think, yeah, there's the picture of what's happening, see the entire house is being lifted up on above the flood zone. So the standard here is not, you know, can you do it or can you not do it? It's whether when you look at this project on its own, and you look at, and maybe I should run through the special permit granting criteria for the board. Maybe that would be helpful.
No, I think we all know it.
Well, but what I'm saying is if I go through those, this project checks every one of those boxes for the standards you're looking at to make a finding that it's not substantially more detrimental than the existing house. When you look at noise, you look at parking, you look at use, you look at availability of utilities, you look at, you know, groundwater. When you look at all the standards in the granting of the special permit, this structure meets all of those requirements. It's whether this is substantially more detrimental than the existing house. It's not whether you're worried that, for example, if you grant this, you have to give somebody else an approval.
So Ben,
Yeah.
You understand we only have 4 voting members.
I do.
And it's been the chair's prerogative in the past, when that's the case, I believe, that, correct me if I'm wrong, Jerry, that we would poll the members of the board and give the applicant the opportunity to come back at a time when there are 5 members?
That's correct, yeah. I just, you know, I don't, I'm very uncomfortable in this position.
I know, that's why I'm seeing how the applicant would like to go right now.
I would love,
Ben
yeah.
makes the point it's not substantially more detrimental. It certainly isn't a humble, recognition of the limitations of the property. Coming in and asking for to exceed the 4,000, you know, it's not just, we haven't talked about the 174 extra feet, which I don't want to talk about because it's really pathetic, but I mean, it's de minimis. But, you know, anybody says, well, it's new construction, they gave them special permits on two aspects, and I just want another 10 feet on my covered porch. You've got my point, and I think...
I do, Jerry, thank you.
I think the point that one point that Ben makes, because he's a good lawyer, is that it's not substantially more detrimental to the condition as it is.
Thank you.
I think, you know, we've done enough of these eight conditions, Ben, to know that artful lawyers can get anything, can describe anything within those parameters. I guess I've made my point. There are 3 other members of this board whose opinion I respect enormously, architects and builders, and a member of the
I've read your application, it's up to you, if you want to.
I'm willing, I've made my objections clear. I defer to the greater wisdom by my board members, and I would vote to approve this.
Okay, well, fine. A straw vote would be helpful.
I will say, Ben, don't ever come back to us with a coastal bank and for
Mr. Chair?
yeah.
Yes,
I just my intention is not to stir the mix more here, but I do want to point out that the gross square footage of the proposed 2-bedroom cottage that will replace the garage is shown on the plans as 1,474 feet. I don't know if that equates to habitable space, but there is a limit in zoning for what essentially is going to be an accessory dwelling unit to 1,200 square feet.
Is there a kitchen in there?
164.
There is a kitchen, yeah, and there is, it's like a wet bar.
kitchen or-
No, a wet bar, a wet bar.
What's the definition difference between the two?
There's no cooking.
Just, right.
Yeah, we're not showing cooking facilities in there. I'm not sure that makes a difference. It's a guest house, so it's not a dwelling.
Well, my practice has been, for the purpose of zoning, that we treat guest houses and full-blown accessory dwelling units the same. But I just wanted to point out that there is a limit 1,200 square feet, if we stay within that definition. So, just
Well,
want,
it sort of goes to my point that this is a very aggressive proposal on a very difficult lot. It certainly lacks humility, I would say that, the proposal.
Existing garage.
And I think, again, I was focused on a garage with some dwelling in there now, as opposed to a two-story again.
On the existing garage,
It's a dramatic improvement in the
to the
property.
right.
Well, if I may, look, we haven't asked for relief on the requirement of the interior area of the accessory structure. So I don't think the board can grant that relief anyways. I would like to be able to get the relief on the square footage and on the coastal bank. And we may have to come back to the building inspector and take a look at that interior area.
Well, Davis, I mean, I'm looking at the floor plan. Are you looking at the floor plan for the proposed?
yes,
And it shows a refrigerator, a sink, trash compactor, dishwasher. They call it a wet bar, that it appears to be a kitchen to me.
But there's no cooktop, is there a cooktop?
well, yeah, when you get down to the nuts and bolts of it, the dividing factor is the presence of a permanently installed cooktop. But I struggle with that because for all intents and purposes, it's a kitchen. I mean,
Agreed.
so, but it's not something that I can point out in the zoning bylaws as an explicit definition. It's just something that practically speaking, Tom and I have agreed over time that for zoning purposes, a guest house should be treated the same. Now that has more to do with, typically more to do with setbacks from property lines and setbacks to the primary dwelling unit. So we're talking about 274 feet, and it may, I mean, I just did a rough calculation myself here, and it may turn out to be relatively de minimis when we get into, depending on, again, how you measure the habitable space. It may turn out to be mostly nothing, but I just wanted to mention it as long as everybody is taking pause here to consider all the factors.
Well, again, I don't think, we're gonna have to comply with your interpretation of the bylaw no matter what, Davis. I believe so. I'm not asking for relief on that. I'm not asking for a variance on those requirements. So I think we're going to, and the approval by this board isn't for an interior floor plan. It's for the total building coverage and it's for the relationship to the top of the coastal bank. So I would hope that the board could vote to give us the relief we need, and then we need to work with Davis to make sure that we comply with his requirements under the zoning code.
The two are related though, right? If you have insufficient lot area for a guest house, you need to fit within the ADU definition. If you don't fit within the ADU definition, the building may shrink, which means your coverage may shrink.
Agreed. I'm with you on that 100%, Matt.
Or we repurpose the area within the building so that, because again, you can have an accessory building that has non-habitable space in it.
You can't have two dwelling units.
No, I understand that. But within that cottage, you can have an ADU that meets the requirements of the bylaw, and then the remainder of that cottage can, for example, be storage or can be some non-habitable space.
That's
So-
correct.
So,
Agreed.
yeah, so,
We're in agreement there, but
Yeah.
these plans don't,
well, what I'm saying is we could ask for an approval on the over 4,000 square feet in relation to the top of the coastal bank, not ask for any relief on the interior floor plan. And
I'm
then,
not comfortable doing that.
well, I think you should call it an ADU. It's not you can't have a house in a guest house.
But if it
You
doesn't have
can't,
parking.
I mean, it's not allowed. You need 80,000 square
you
feet.
could have an ADU as long as it's under
Right.
1,200 square feet, okay.
So I think, to both Matt and the building inspector's points,
Yeah.
I have to agree with them.
Okay, well, if that's the case, then we're gonna request a continuance to look at that one issue. If that's okay with the board, you have to obviously vote that continuance.
But
I mean,
look-
if we continue this, we get a fifth member, I don't think we can commit the board to approval without a fifth member there, with a new fifth member. I think if you continue it, you continue the whole thing.
Well, no, that's what I'm asking for, is continue the whole thing. I'm not asking to continue part of it. I would like, if it's possible, to have a straw vote on the issue of the square footage, total square footage and the coastal bank setback. And then take that with us, with an understanding of what we need to deal with.
I'm a little more uncomfortable with that now, since the building inspector and Matt have brought this up,
Okay.
because the way it's shown, flies in the face of zoning.
No, I understand it. What I'm saying is if we can satisfactorily address the interior area of the
Yes.
accessory structure, is the board, or is any particular member comfortable with the coastal bank relationship and the general request to exceed the lot coverage by 107 square feet?
So before we do a straw vote, Matt, Gary, or Sibel, any other questions or concerns?
I think, if I may, I think that there should not be a straw vote at this point. I think that they should come back with a clean set of drawings that indicates, the ADU, square footage, et cetera, and then we could look at it. I don't see why I don't feel comfortable doing a straw vote at this point.
Okay.
Fair enough.
David, if the wet bar is removed, so it's just, is it still, the size is still the issue?
It's not the wet bar, it's the size.
It's the size.
Yeah, I understand that, but I'm hearing a what if with regards to the kitchen, not having cooking, as
Well,
the
no,
building commissioner pointed out. It's a fine line
An
of,
ADU,
I understand.
you
over
can have
1,200 square
a
feet.
dwelling with an ADU. You can't have a dwelling and a guest house. And I think, first off, that's the first
Yeah.
change that needs to be done. And the ADU requirements require that it not exceed 1,200 square feet.
Right, and my observation
I
is-
don't think and then you can have a full kitchen. In an ADU, you can have a full kitchen.
Yeah.
That the kitchen really isn't so much the issue here.
I'm gonna request a continuance.
Yep.
Okay.
Please.
Well, let me add also that if you came back with less than 4,000 square feet coverage, that's one less hoop you're making the zoning board jump through.
We understand.
Okay, when would you like to continue?
30 days.
So the applicants requested a continuance for 30 days. Let me get my calendar out.
March 18th.
Would you make a motion, please, Matt?
I move that we continue this case to March 18th.
I'll second
I'll second
that.
the motion.
Been moved and seconded. A roll call vote. Sibel?
Yes.
David? Aye. Jerry?
Yes,
Matt?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay.
Did you hear that, Bob?
What's that?
Did you hear it?
Oh, I was here. I had my head down so that nobody can interpret my feelings.
Okay. Case number 2026-02. Ember Gardens Cape Cod LLC has applied for a special permit as set forth in MGL Chapter 40A, Section 9, under the Orleans zoning bylaw, Section 164, 40D3. The applicant is requesting a renewal of a marijuana establishment special permit granted in 2023 as special permit number 2195, and additionally seeks to modify the conditions of that special permit to extend the hours of operation to be 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. Section 16440.4D7 states the renewal request will be granted unless a written objection to the renewal stating reasons is received by the Zoning Board of Appeals. The property is located at 41 Route 6A, map 26, parcel 42. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. Thank you, members of the board. My name is Dan Gillen. I'm here on behalf of Ember Gardens, as you stated, seeking renewal of our special permit and an expansion of our operating hours, similar to the other shop that was just approved recently. So I think this is fairly familiar. I think we just went through this with the other operator here in town, and so Our permits were issued around the same time, and so here we are.
I'm fine with it.
I have no questions, Sibel.
No question.
David, we had that hearing for Ember, for the competitors there, whatever that name is, and we did it as two motions. We had one motion to approve the renewal, then we had a motion and discussion to extend the hours. And I would
Okay.
suggest for parallel treatment, we proceed the same way.
Okay, Matt, you have any concerns?
I don't have any concerns. There was a discussion at the last applicant about police activity, and there was input from the chief. Did we have any of that here?
Matt, only that he observed that they weren't having any problems with any of them, any of the marijuana shops, if I recall correctly.
And one last question. When the original application came out, there was a lot of discussion about left turns out of the property. Has there been any traffic issues or any needs to hire a detail officer for the property?
Great question. We did implement the no left turn as well as the specific curb cut that Mass DOT and the town had recommended. We have hired police details just for high volume events where we anticipate a higher impact on traffic, but for day-to-day operations, it has been a zero factor at all.
Great, thank you.
Anybody else? So,
I move that we renew the license for the period pursuant to the code.
do we have a second?
Seconded.
Been moved and seconded. Sibel?
Yes.
David, yes.
Yes.
Bob, yes. Jerry?
Yes,
Matt?
Yes.
Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Would you like to make another motion, Jerry?
yeah, I move we allow the extension of the hours in parallel with the other cannabis supplier in town and in other shops around the Cape Cod in the vicinity. It's a time frame that other institutions are using, and therefore I think it's appropriate to give them the authority to do the same. So I move that they grant the permission to extend the hours.
Do I have a second?
Seconded.
Been moved and seconded. Sibel?
Yes.
David, yes. Bob?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes,
Matt?
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks, members of the board. Appreciate it.
Take care.
That was easy.
That was easier.
now if
So,
you were near a Coastal Bank, we'd have some other issues for you.
Learn something every night. Thank you very much.
so
Appreciate it.
I guess I need a motion to close the hearing, unless there's any other business that needs to be brought up.
So moved.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Sibel?
Yay.
David, yay.
Yay. Did we do the minutes?
Marty?
Yes.
I mean, Matt, yes. Jerry?
Yes.
Did we?
And